The analogy that I like to use is if you hired me as a consultant for your church to say, hey, how come my church isn't growing? We're kind of capped at, let's say, 200 people. We have enough seats for 400. We just can't break through the barrier. And I show up to your church on a Sunday morning, and I pull into the parking lot, and I can't really find a good place to park. There's no visitor parking out front. All the spots are taken, and I'd have to parallel park up the street. Okay, that's kind of a minor nuisance, not a giant deal, but just a small barrier to entry, right? So I parallel park, I walk a block down the street, and I walk into your church doors. First thing that happens is no one greets me. I walk in and there's just people milling about, there's kids running around, and I feel a little bit out of place already, right? I also notice that there's a coffee station over to the side, and I haven't had my morning coffee yet. So I go over there to get some coffee. I go to the carafe, I try to pour it out, and it's empty. Okay, so no coffee, no one's really talked to me yet. And I also noticed there's like a little bit of a musty smell, like maybe there was some mold in the carpet, and it's just kind of unpleasant, right? So I'm feeling pretty uncomfortable, but whatever. It's 10:30, service is starting. I walk through the front doors into the sanctuary, and I can't really find a seat. People are sitting on the edges of the pews, and I finally, awkwardly make my way past some people. They have to stand up. They're kind of annoyed. I sit down, and it's this hard pew that's uncomfortable, and I sit there, and then I go through the service, right? There are about a dozen things that just happened, and none of them I would say are like preaching issues or issues with doctrine or anything like that. But these are all things that practically make it a lot harder for somebody to feel engaged in your church, for someone to feel welcome, and for people to want to show up again, and people ultimately to join your church, right? Your website tends to be the same thing now. I would put your website in the same category as having visitor parking and having greeters at your front door and having coffee and having a church that smells nice and isn't dirty and having bathrooms that are easily accessible, right?
Mhm.
When I Google a church, and this is actually, my wife and I moved to this community a year ago. When we Googled churches in our area, the church that we chose literally was the one that showed up in Google and looked like it had up-to-date stuff and had normal people in it. I know that sounds really trivial, but I just wanted to know, like, okay, if I show up at 10:30, there will be a service, right? Um, if someone Googles your church and instead they click on the website and it looks like it was built in 1998, there's no pictures of people in there. It's just pictures of a building. So I don't really know how people are dressed. I don't really know what to
Mhm.
expect. And then I also can't find the service time easily. I'm probably not going to show up to your church. It's not because I have any sort of malice. It's just because I feel uncomfortable and I don't know what is going on there.